Here's what you should know about your local housing market in this week's Market Update. We got a little worried last week with a big dip in the number of new homes on the market, but good news, this week we saw new listings way up. This week we saw 56 homes come on the market, 70% increase over last week. Obviously last week was a big slump, so part of it's making up for that, but it's good news. That's good news that's not that unfavorable trend does not seem to be sticking around. So this is great news. A lot of new inventory on the market this week. Number of these that were single family houses, 42, and then 14 of them were condos or townhouses. The average list price of the homes that came on the market this past week was $1,573,000. We saw a big clear winner on that front in Harding. We saw one home come on the market for $4,350,000. Okay, so we saw a lot of homes come on the market. We must have seen an improvement in inventory. Actually, no. We still saw a reduction in total inventory. So currently, the number of homes actively on the market is 2% less than this time last week. We have 189 homes on the market in these towns. Total homes sold. We saw only 10 homes sell this past week. That's way down from last week. That's a 69% decrease from last week. The average list price of these homes was $1,196,000. The average sale price was $1,210,000. So this past week, we saw homes sell for an average of 2.6% above the list price. Now, once again, across all these towns, most of them we saw homes sell substantially above list price. We did see a few where they were below. We saw two towns below. So in Morristown and Township, the average sale to list was actually 9% below list price. However, that was one home that sold. It was listed for $2,185,000, sold for $1,999,000. Keep in mind that was a flip home. It seemed to be very nicely done, but flippers often have a reputation for aggressively pricing their homes, so it's not super atypical to see those homes sell somewhat substantially below the list price. However, it was a little surprising. It was only on the market for 21 days, so that seems like a pretty big cut. And then the other one was Mars Plains, where we had one home sell 7% below the list price. One little caveat there, I looked that up, and there was a big potentially in a flood zone. Now, one word of caution, I'm sorry, I don't think you should ever be listing a house potentially in a flood zone. There should be no potential. If you think your house, or more specifically, if your agent thinks there might be a chance your home is in a flood zone, that should be cleared up before you go on the market. Might be in a flood zone. What if it's not in a flood zone? Now you're taking a discount on that property for a negative factor that doesn't exist. I've had these situations before. Your agent should be very proficient in this. You run a flood cert, you can get that checked out, and if your home is still believed to be in a flood zone from that flood cert, and you think there's a chance there might not be, you can hire an engineer. You can apply with FEMA for an amendment to that. And honestly, I've had success with that in the past. I've had houses that the flood cert from the title search company designated that as being in a flood zone. The engineer disputed that, and now that's permanently on record with FEMA. So be cautious when dealing with things like that. But back to the sale list ratios. All right, the rest of these towns, we saw Chester, where homes sold at exactly the list price. We saw Basking Ridge, where homes sold 2% above list price. Randolph, 5% above list price. And then Madison, 12.3% above list price. And Chatham, 15% above list price. So you got to know your market in these various towns. Demand is still extremely high. Inventory is still lower than that demand. We're seeing a lot of bidding wars, but not always. So you got to know what you're doing going into it. Days on market for homes sold, 21 days on market. That's a 48% decrease over last week. So the homes that sold did sell substantially quicker than the ones that sold last week. Under contract, once again, under contract, is our most current but least complete data. This shows us what happened in real time in the market this past week. Although we don't have all the information, it's the most complete we have for that types of urgency and time sensitivity in the market. So we saw 42 homes go under contract this past week. That's a 16% decrease over the prior week. Average list price of these homes, $1,169,000, and they were on the market for an average of 24 days. So while we saw most of the towns that were evaluating the number of days on market for these under contract homes decrease from last week, some of them have increased. Keep in mind, there's always potential outliers. Like in Madison, we saw one home go under contract, and that home was on the market for 47 days. So keep those little factors in mind. So we are in spring market. I've been saying it for a few weeks now. In spring market, if you're thinking of selling, let's get going. If you're waiting for the leaves to come on the trees and your flowers to bloom, you could be in the summer slowdown by the time that actually happens. I'm getting a lot of homes prepped for market. The weather is warming up. Things like flowers and trees and whatnot. We've got AI now for that, guys. All right, I'm working on a house right now with beautiful hydrangeas right in front. Hydrangeas are not blooming yet. I've got a photo from last summer. I've got a nice professional photo from just yesterday, and I'm going to be able to make those hydrangeas beautifully in bloom. So do not wait for things like that. You will be waiting a very long time. So that being said, I hope you guys have a great weekend. We're supposed to have finally a nice, beautiful, warm weekend. So I hope you enjoy it. Come pop in one of my open houses. I'll catch you guys again next week.